Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chasing Collectibles Catchup. I'm Tyler.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Tim.
And today we have a very special guest for our 11th episode, Nik Franks, formerly of Nikelspot Comics, who, without Nik, we've talked about this before, this combination of the three of us being together would not have ever happened. So, Nik, welcome to our show.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad I finally got to get on here and catch up with you guys.
What's up, brother? I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know.
Yeah, too long.
Lauren
Too long.
scares.
Work and life, man. That 2-hour distance makes well, it's probably like an hour and a half, but close to 2 hours. But anyway, that's can't just make that quick,
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Last time in our very first episode, actually, we were talking about you and how awesome you were with the store and how ethical you were working with customers. That kind of sounded like we were doing a eulogy for you. So I think we wanted to make sure we interviewed you so people knew you were actually alive. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I pretty much am at home most of the time. I mean, I have an office here, but I don't really work out of the office. There's a secretary there who handles things, and I'm just meet people there when I need to. So yeah, I pretty much don't see too many people. Especially, I mean, I haven't seen you guys in person in months. I mean, it's been a while. Like, I don't know if it's out. Have I seen y'all this year?
I think I know Tim and I came up.
Yeah, that was a few months ago.
Yeah.
Lauren, I don't think I've seen you this year. We've talked on the phone, but
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll fix that soon. You guys might come down soon. So
Yeah.
I'm in Greenville. I'm in Greenville. If anybody doesn't know, Greenville, South Carolina. So
I thought we'd start off talking about how did you get into collecting comics originally, way back when?
Yeah. So I was in collecting stuff at a pretty young age. I started with baseball cards and basketball cards. Not about the same time probably as comics. I remember maybe a couple years before, because I remember doing some trades and stuff with kids in the neighborhood with Frank Thomas rookies and things like that. But with the comics, that there was this cool kid who moved down the street from me, who was a grade above me, but we became good friends. And he was like a skater kid, and he was in the comics. So he introduced me to comics then. And this was probably 91, 92, I think. Probably about that. I think going into that. And he was in the comics, and I was kind of touch and go. Like, I liked them; they were cool. I'd watch the X-Men show, but I never. I want to say, so when I was 9 or 10, that's kind of when I got into it, mostly with his interest in it, and it just became a part of us and stuff. But the funny thing is that I watched the show. I love the art, but I never read my own comics. So all my comics from a kid were pristine. So I only collected because the characters are cool to me. So I just love the art. And the art in the 90s was I just loved, like Wolverine, Sabretooth, some of those classics from the Sienkiewicz number 10 cover to like issue 41 Wolverine, 42. Some of those are just really stick out to me from my childhood. So I started then, went to my first Heroes Con in 1992, and I got Amazing Spider-Man 365 signed by Mark Bagley. And I actually still have that. I got it CBCS verified. So I still have that one. So that's when it started. And I used to go to there was a place called Collectors World that Dave Henson, who I took over the store for, he partly owned that in Pineville, where I grew up in South Charlotte, Pineville. That was my main store, but I used to go to Dave's store on Celanese in Rock Hill, his old one of his first ones before he moved to Fort Mill. And then I would go to Heroes over at the old Central location. Whenever my mom would take me over there, we were going to like Eastland Mall or something. So it was that's kind of how I got into collecting. Now I fell out as a teenager. I was pretty wild as a teenager, and it was funny, an old girlfriend, somehow comics were still part of I still talked about them or something, because my old girlfriend was like, he still likes those comics, when I saw it, like we ran into her like 5 or 6 years ago or something. So it was all part of it. And of course, we use the line from Hotel California, you can check out, but you can never leave.
Yeah.
So everyone seems to come back, to it. At some point, you keeping them away, you discover them, or like people got away from them, and now all the movies and stuff are hot, so they're going back to their comics. So once you get into it, it's not something that you really leave forever. Even people who decide they want to get out, sell their collection and stuff, they eventually, I mean, they'll dabble back in,
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it.
Thinking about the timeline and all this, so you get into comics, and before there is Nikelspot, the store, like the physical brick and mortar, you had an online presence for a while. So how'd you get into then selling online, like going from being a fan of comics to actually selling them?
Yeah, so I was in college, and my mom, I grabbed my comics out of the box, and this was early 2000s, and I grabbed my comics out of the attic, took the box to my school, and posted some online, and one of them went for $20. I think it was the Hulk vs. Venom Melloway from the early 90s. You remember, with the foil? And it went for $20. So I was like, man, these things are worth something. So I just was like, put an ad in this local like ad paper that we had, and that I wanted some comics, and somebody called me whose father passed away, who had a big comic collection, and they sold them to me in little increments I can afford. And I was keeping stuff that I liked and then selling stuff on eBay. So I started building up my eBay like my third year of college, and started selling like that. Did it on and off through college, grad school. That's all I did in grad school, actually. I didn't have another job, and that was in Charlotte. And so yeah, pretty much online on eBay, and got into it full time when my son was born. And he was born 4 months early, and he had about 6 or 7 surgeries the second year. Where I was at, the person I was working with, it was kind of just done with us, and I had known our relationship and stuff, and I had known that comics I could make money off comics, and I didn't know really how, or how much, or what it was going to look like, but I'd already been doing it, through college and grad school, and so I started. It was 2013 or 14. I've been doing, basically, comics have been a part of my income since then, and I don't have like a job. That's been my major thing. That, investing, mostly collectibles, but mostly comics for the first 5-6 years. Never got into sports cards, but recently got into video games in the last few years. And then VHS is a kind of an emerging market that I've kind of jumped into. So so that was the timeline. That's how it started in college. I was like, man, these things are worth some money. And then of course you grow, and you collect, and so you grow fond of them. But that was always about the art. So whenever I got artists I liked, those are the things I was building my collection around. Never got into original art for some reason. It just never was really on my radar until it was too late, and it was super expensive. Mm-hmm. And some of the art behind me is actually the oldest, bigger pieces that I have. I think that one is like, I've had that like years, maybe. That one like 5 years. That's the origin page from Marvel Premiere 1. That's the splash page from Strange Tales 181. It's the first full appearance of Magus. It's by Jim Starlin and Al Milgram. That's by Gil Kane and Dan Atkins. But it was colored by Steve O'Leaf in the 70s. They did that. It was kind of, it's still be better if it's black, but the colors on it are better than the published. So to me, so those were about 6-7 years ago. I started getting into art, and I probably have like, I don't know, 50 pieces maybe. It's not all super high end, but I wish I would have got into it early.
Then you eventually bumped into that guy, some crazy guy named Lauren, right?
Yeah, me and Lauren met. I was at a yard sale, and I forgot what I bought from Spidey's.
Yeah, you bought some early Spideys. My dumbass sold them.
They were good. I think
they were like number 3 and 4 or something like that.
No. It wasn't Silver Age, was it?
Oh yeah, it was good. That was the good stuff. Yeah,
I don't remember
at that time.
I feel like I would have remembered that.
I just got here. I didn't have a job. I needed money, so we were having a garage sale, and you showed up with Lindsay, and man, we hit it off right there, and we've been good friends ever since.
Yeah, and then I think we ran into each other later on down the road, and I was like, man, I'm trying to. And then eventually I was like, yeah, you should come help me. So we started off in the laundromat, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which I wish we would have stayed. That was the demise of Nikelspot, is that, eventually that store and the whole landlord situation there.
Yeah, that was
if we would have stayed in the laundromat, we would have been the most infamous comic shop in the country. You come to the back door, you go you swing around the back of the laundromat, you come to the back door.
Yeah, I remember that. I think I brought a Rolex off of you back there too.
Yeah. I came out with my trench coat. I had sometimes I'd have a couple dozen on me.
I'm just glad
I'll never forget the first day. You called me up and said, "Hey man, I'm gonna be starting to do this thing. Would you be interested in helping me?" And I said, "What does it entail?" And it was comic books, helping out with comics and sorting and doing all this stuff, and it'd be full time. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And our first thing that we did is we went down to Charleston and we picked up 345 long boxes.
Yeah, 2 tractor trailers or something. Yes. That was that was brutal. Yeah.
It was 7 feet high, 20 feet by 30 feet long. I mean, it was big enough for me to lay on top of. It was crazy. It's like, welcome to sorting.
That was brutal. I remember I was like, what did I do? I found these books. I was like, and then I threw out like a whole long box of Image comics. I was like, what is it?
Yeah. But I think
what did I do? It's going to take us forever. But luckily, I mean, that's kind of where I learned. I didn't know about a lot of the stuff in it at the time. I'm sure there was a lot of good stuff that I didn't know about. Like, kind of learned on moderns and variants and newsstands and all that through that.
Yep.
It wasn't much. It wasn't much of an older collection, but
right. There was some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
But we've had some pretty crazy adventures.
Oh man, when we went to Dallas, we flew to Dallas to buy a collection through this connection that a guy who reached out to me. I was selling some comics, and I don't know if he wanted them or something. He's like, he buy them. We talked. He told me about his friend. He's thinking about selling his collection. And I was like, yeah, I'll pay you, a fee or whatever, or part of it if you connect us. Talked to his friend, flew down there. It was legit. We paid strong. It had all the keys though, like AF-15, FF1. But I had to go way higher than expecting because he knew he had me when I came down there. But the guy was pretty chill on that, and at the time it was a lot of money. But you know, I wanted the keys. You just didn't get those that often, you know, and you just. So it was one of the early times that we could get one of the first times I ever got all those. It was pretty much every big key at one point. So I was just happy, you know, as a comic dude, like getting all that. But man, he beat us up, and we dropped off like 10 boxes at Goodwill, right?
No, we threw them in a dumpster before it got dark.
It was the trailer at Goodwill. We were like, I think we packed up some for FedEx, and I was like, dude, I'm not paying to ship some of this stuff. Again, this was like, you know, maybe like 6-7 years ago now. So modern stuff really wasn't worth that much then, a lot of modern. So I was like, dude, I'm not paying, that's fine. We took it to the Goodwill trailer that was closed. And remember we put it under the Goodwill trailer?
Yeah.
Like, I got what I want. I want the keys, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I still got pictures of all that.
I would have been at that Goodwill the next day.
Yeah, man. And it's fun. I mean, for me, a lot of it is so now, not so much then, but now it's really the time that goes into comics. To process and sell comics is time consuming. So it's really, you know, trying to do that. I don't have you guys now, so trying to do that on my own is just, it's near impossible. So like the guy I went and looked at it, I was buying a comic from a guy. We made a deal. I went and met him today and helped him out with this collection. Just went through, kind of told him what he could possibly do, and he had some good stuff like he had some good like $20. He had a couple even $100 plus books, and he had like maybe it was total maybe like 10 long boxes or something. And you know, I have, if it's got enough good books in it, I'll buy it. But he really wants to try to get, like, he's thinking he was overpriced on some of it, like his evaluation in his head was overpriced, which happens sometimes if you look. He's thinking he was going to get like $5 a book for this stuff. And you know, that's just, if I could sell all the stuff in my storage units for 20% of the value, I would sell it right now and be done with it, because the hours and stuff. And so I told him about what to ask for the collection, try to get some offers. But I mean, he could take the time and go through. But you know how it is, a lot of these books, there's 50 of them on eBay and they only sell 3 a month, you know. So you gotta wait it out and list it. And it's just tough, man. It's a tough thing. So now I always factor in time and stuff like that. And you know, it's the time. You got to really love it, the stuff you're buying, if you do that, you know. And luckily I do for the most part.
We definitely know that it is time consuming. I mean, you see,
it's brutal.
Lauren has his own shop on eBay. You know, the three of us, you know, we work Chasing Collectibles, our own store on through Facebook, and you know, just posting the things that we have on there. Yeah, it's taken a while just to process it and get it up there. And we have a lot more stuff that we're just kind of trying to still kind of go through.
So then when it sells, you got to ship it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I say, you know, I'd take 20%, and the stuff I store is pretty good. What I'm like, my storage unit stuff is like, I mean, there's hot books, like every box, you know, is full of stuff, but it's just me. So what I was saying, like, if somebody would come in there and what they could really do with it, they had the thing, if they offered me enough, I would definitely consider weighing it if it was a good chunk of money, because the time that I spend, I'll go through 2 or 3 boxes, and it's like 4 hours, you know, trying to process, see if I'm going to grade. You know, it's just a lot of time. So you always factor that in. Now, it's worth it if the stuff's good. But when you start getting 90s books that, you know, I mean, 90s. I mean, even there's books that just aren't going to sell that fast, and it's just you just have to know.
Yeah. Now, what we need is another long box of Wildcats #1.
So I've got a case. I think I can bring to you.
He doesn't speak for the whole group.
Yeah. Now that's a pretty good book, actually. That's why I kept it. I probably, I mean, I have, they're not in the best condition the way they were stored, but I did, I acquired a couple factory sale cases of that.
Yeah. I mean,
or they were popped open or kind of, but they were still in the box. So that's an okay one, I think, it's, but when you start getting like, Shadowhawk #3, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be
they're putting out another Shadowhawk series too. They're bringing them back.
So that could be good. I mean, that means the comic could get some interest, but you got to think that those images, you always have to think about the demand and compared to the supply of these things. I mean, the Shadowhawk, they probably printed 2 million.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the numbers, but it's at least 1 million,
Yeah.
So there's always the New Mutants 98 is a pretty fascinating comic in that it's the value for it compared to its Deadpool's characters really meets the supply versus the demand. He's able to keep that price high even though the supply is pretty. There's a lot of those out there. Spawn #1 also. I mean, it's for as many as are out there to still be basically like a $20-$30 comic's pretty good. Venom Lethal Protector. There's millions of those, but I mean they're good value. So, but
let's see. Over the years that I was working with you, I learned a whole lot about grading, and I was just, wonder how you went about learning it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And your experience in that.
Yeah, grading is grading's been the death of me in some ways because early on, so I had a Wolverine #1 from my collection as a kid, the black cover the first patch, 1988 series. And I was in it. I was going in, selling stuff for about a year or so. So I was kind of gathering stuff, building up my collection, all that, dealing with selling the first. And I decided to send something to CGC, and that was one of the books I sent, and I thought it was absolutely immaculate. And it came back a 9.2. And I'm already like a perfectionist, like picky, like some people refer to me as the Paris Hilton of comics. I'm just picky, but it's like, I went early in those early days. Those were when I bought the best collections I ever had. I've probably never gotten collections like I was, particularly a couple that come to mind back then. But when I was buying them, I wasn't buying them at the grade that they really were, because in my mind they were very fines, because there would be like a little itty bitty tick, and I was like, it can't be a near mint if it's got a tick on it. And so you can hear there's some stories coming up, and Dave knows some of the guys that ding me for some of those runs, some Bronze Age and some comics I had at the time. Like, they tell Dave it's the nicest comics they've ever seen. But I was so picky back then. I was like, that's a very fine. So it messed me up in my buying, because I wasn't willing to pay as much as I should have been back then. I mean, now I know, so it's like, it's all good, but it killed me at the beginning. But I always try to go on the tighter side, because especially with comics that you get pretty frequently, or if you're just running through stuff, I mean, there's no need to try to press it out, especially on $20 to $50 books, because your price difference isn't that much. So if it's if I know it'll be a 9.2 or something from CGC, so there's two different ways. There's selling, and then for me wanting to grade and stuff. When I'm selling, I'll just say it's very fine near mint, just something like that. Or if it's a near mint or something, but it's kind of, I'll just put near mint minus. If it's really sharp and I know I'd probably get like a 9.6 and 9.8, I might put a near mint, but you just want to go, unless it's like a key book where you probably need to get graded anyway, and the grade's like, a significant difference. Just always grade tight. But as far as CGC, I'm pretty good now at determining exactly what it'll be. Sometimes you get some curveballs, but mostly you learn from experience. But you're filtering all this stuff through your presuppositions and your view. So for me, I was real particular, when the standard wasn't like that. It's not like that. And then some people, and you run into the whole spectrum. You get people that, like me at the time, it's like 9.4. It's got a little tick on it, which is allowable. And people are like, oh, that's garbage. That's like a very fine near mint. Then you got the other end of the spectrum. It looks like an absolute dog turd. And they think it's like a very fine. You know what I'm saying? But it's all, a lot of it's the personality and perspective and view that you're bringing to it. Cause it's an art. It's not necessarily a science, but it is a science. I mean, it isn't subjective. Like you can nail it down within a few grades. So, but I've been grading, particularly with CGC for so long that I got pretty high percentage rate in guessing what it is. And sometimes I'm surprised both ways a little, not you never like super surprised where like, I think it's going to be an 8.0 and it gets a 9.6. Like that's not, that just is, you can be within a range, but it just experience, and you'll find out, especially if you try to sell, you'll find out that not everybody's going to be happy, or some people will be, because they've been buying from people that are kind of looser, and you send them a very fine and it's like they really like it, or you send them a very fine and they're like, this isn't a very fine, it's got this on it. So I mean, it's an art, it's subjective, in the broad range. But with CGC and when you're grading like key books and stuff, I mean, it's not hard to nail it down, but at least within a point or two,
Yeah.
There are a lot of times it's a tweener, like you don't know, like it could be a 9.2, could be a 9.4, so it's things like that. But so it's just experience, man, and disappointing people with bad grading and making people way happy with tight grading.
Yeah.
To the point you become a legend for selling the nicest comics they've ever seen for like dirt cheap.
Yeah. Well, I definitely learned a lot from you, and it's really helped out my own thing, because my feedback has been excellent with the books that I've listed, and that they're super happy with the grades they get. I haven't had anybody complain about that, knock on wood. But so I definitely appreciate all the help over the years. So it's really helped out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, with comics, especially, there's no need to push. There's no need to try to get the most out of a $20 book, or something. It's like, you want your customers to be happy, and so you always want to try to do that. And comics are expensive, so one thing I try to avoid, I used to not, but some of the older guys in the industry I kind of learned from, and I kind of just decided to kind of do, like, I don't really buy comics unless they're like super rare golden age that have like big pieces missing, or that aren't really going to be worth, they might come back a 1.0 or 2.0 and be worth like a few $1,000s because they're just key books, but they just look horrible. I try not to do that, because it's not really you're paying, a lot of people will pay for that number, and the book is just, to have a big chunk out of it. So you always want to try to give people what they pay for, because, it's comics, and they're usually spending hard-earned money on it. So, that's what you want to do. I mean, but so that's kind of how you look at it. You don't want to try to squeeze every dime you can. You know, when it comes to like rare books and stuff, like higher grade, higher end stuff, like some of that stuff, I wouldn't. You get it graded, I wouldn't. You don't budge on. You can, and it's still fair because that's the market. But lower stuff, I mean, just make people happy with it as much as you can. You know.
Yeah.
Alright.
So,
So,
if that
so
makes sense.
while we're talking about your experiences and Lauren's experiences and things like that, I'm just wondering, you know, all your years of doing this, you know, in your travels with Lauren or by yourself, what are some of the really cool things you've come across, you know, or probably the coolest thing you could think of that
Oh man.
you know, or
Well,
I mean,
through you, I've seen some beauties, man. Seriously,
yeah,
sensational comics. First Wonder Woman. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. We've gotten stuff like that. And so I've seen a lot of the major keys. I mean, I've seen an Action 1 in person through just some of my acquaintances in the hobbies, hanging out with them. There's guys that will share theirs and show them. So I've seen them. I've seen, you know, I know some collectors and bigger dealers. I've seen some of their books in person. That, you know, high grade golden age, like, you know, just kind of nutty stuff. These are just insane. So I've seen a lot of stuff. For me personally, it's I mean, trying to think, man. I mean, you see the big Marvel. I'm starting to love the Marvel Silver Age keys more. Actually, I mean, I picked this up today, buying, you know.
Nice.
That's why I was in, you know, took a trip today up to North Carolina to get that, and that's cool. I mean, I love it. I mean, you know, I've been into the Silver Age lately. For a while, I was a huge Bronze Age person, and kind of neglected Silver to my you know, demise, because now I'm loving Silver and I just have to pay. It's just cost a lot. So, but yeah, the Silver Golden Age. I've had the Golden Age. For me, buying and acquiring them, I've acquired some, mostly like books one at a time when it comes to higher end stuff. But I have bought like little collections of stuff. I've never had like a huge Golden Age collection, but I've had huge Silver Age collections. I've had, when CBCS first came out, I was fortunate enough to know a guy who he was basically selling all his. He would figure out about what the grade was, and they were pristine. And he would do like a CGC approximate price where he wouldn't have to worry about the grading. He knew it was high, but he just, you know, it'd be some outrageous price for a raw or something. But once I got to know him and dealing with him, I acquired, that was probably the best, like sharpest books. I mean, this was at the start of CVCS, and I got a Hulk, like Iron Man 198, Hulk Warner 298. You know, what else? There was all kinds of stuff. I mean, House of Secrets 9296. Those things like that. That was a beautiful collection, and I did not keep anything because that's when I was starting to do it. This is all I did. So it took me a while to get to a place where I could even buy stuff and even keep it for me. So unfortunately, I mean, I think I have a few little things from that, but unfortunately I didn't keep it. But that was the most beautiful. But I mean, as far as like, there were 4 or 5 years there where I would bring to market like 10 to 12 of the highest graded copies of some like serious Silver or Golden Age books. I've had a Silver Streak 194 that sold at Heritage Auctions a couple years ago. That was mine. I graded that myself. That was pretty, I mean, that book was insane. For what the price of it was, I just couldn't keep it at the time. So, you know, I have some keys now. I mean, I've got, for me, Spidey. I got a couple X-Men one, Spidey one. So I have things like that I've just kind of gone to. But I mean, I've seen, just to say the craziest, man. I mean, I've just seen all kinds of stuff. I mean, I bought
That's cool.
the old distributor, which was really cool. An old distributor who owned a distributor company, comic distributor company in the 90s. It wasn't a lot of stuff, but it had a sealed case of Spawn #1s. You know, that was pretty cool. Just stuff like that. I'm trying to think.
I got this from you. That's my Amazing Fantasy 15, so I'm stoked.
You could probably sell that thing for $500.
Yeah, probably.
You know? Yeah, I never kept one of those. I'm looking for one. I'm kind of in the market. I things like that. If I acquire, so that's kind of what I'm acquiring now. I'm buying collections and buying older Silver Age, mainly for, I mean, a lot of it's for me is the past year I've only sold probably like 10% of what I bought, just because I'm in that phase right now. And I mean, what you see on Noble Nostalgia is like less than 1% of what my inventory or stuff that I have. It's just me and one person, the kind of phase that I'm in right now. I'm just kind of buying stuff and looking for stuff like that. And so it's cool, man. It's all cool to me. It's all, I mean, now I love like finding modern variants and stuff, you know, like, let me show y'all. I bought something today. I've never seen it before. And I don't know, man. It seems like it's a pretty tough variant. It's this X-Men 19 variant. I think it's probably like from like 2004 or something. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Pretty
It's
cool.
Kind of a Fantastic Four homage.
Yeah. And there was none on eBay. It was pricey, but I never seen it. So I dig finding stuff like that. That was cool, you know. So I'm digging the moderns just to switch it up. But I always, Golden Age. I love original art's the thing that I love. I mean, you just don't really find that in the wild. I'll show you. I'll show you something real cool.
Dun, 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 da, 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 da. What's the Jeopardy theme?
Do, do, do,
We better not, because we'll get a copyright infringement.
So I just got this last week.
Oh, wow.
This is Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
A huge page. I'll try to put the comic up next to it so you can see.
Wow.
Like, it's basically like this panel is the longest panel ever. It's from 1957. It's a Johnny Reb newspaper, newspaper cartoon that he did with Frank Frank, how do you say it, Tim? Frank Giacoya, I think. I don't know.
Frank Giacoya.
Sounds like one of those New York. No, he's an old school writer artist that worked with Jack Kirby. So that's cool. I love stuff like that. Is exciting to me. You don't really find that in a while. That's more me. Finding people making deals and stuff. And a lot of people call me because I just have the relationship with them, or write me and say, I got this Nick you wanted, or something like that. And sometimes I'll get some cool stuff, but everything's cool to me. I'm just trying to find the things, certain things, dirty boxes that haven't been taken care of 80s and 90s books. Those get kind of brutal, You're like coughing and silverfish are running out. Those aren't as exciting, but you try to find stuff. But yeah, man. I mean, that's just a lot of stuff, man. I mean, I hate it. I'm not recalling anything super crazy. What me and Lauren found in Dallas was really cool.
Mm-hmm. It was everything. It was Fantastic Four #1, which I'm not gonna lie, I shed a tear to actually hold that book. It was very emotional for me. Amazing Fantasy 15 was there, Spider-Man 1, X-Men 1, Hulk 1, Hulk 181. Just so many unbelievable books.
And then I bought my Carnage Splash there with the Eddie Brock Venom, and Lauren just absolutely beat up the artist, Mike Perkins. He had a price on it. I was ready to pay. Went to go handing the money, and Lauren was like, "Hold up, man, can you do any better on this?" I was like, "Man, these boys are shell out here," and he knocked something off. Lauren just went stone cold on him, and I was like, "All right, that's cool." You know, I try to. That's just little fun things like that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's where I got my nickname, was
Stone Cold. Well, no, the first show we ever did. Cool. It was Rigel and we were working, and I just kind of catch him out of the corner of his eye. He's got his glasses on, looking at me. He tilts it down at the guy and says, "I'll do $50 for it." And I was like, "Dang, just all shell, like something you'd see in a movie." So I started calling him Stone Cold from then on.
Right, yeah.
Stone Cold. He was stone cold with that dude. He told me what he was gonna do. He wasn't taking nothing. That's what it is.
Well, I want
to. We have a lot of funny things like that, and then from the shop, you know, that was some of the stuff. We just had a lot of customers that we had fun with, we joked with.
Speaking of the shop, because I want to continue to take our viewers on this timeline history of this. So, you know, you took over after, Dave retired, and then you kind of opened Nikelspot and took over his subscribers, and Tim met you. I was fortunate to work for you. I remember I messaged you on Thanksgiving, and I was like, "Nick, I really appreciate you on this Thanksgiving." You're like, "Thanks. Would you like a job?" And I was like, "I can leave Steak and Shake?" "Yes, please." And the store was open through December of 2019. So I was wondering if you could just say, like, what's one of your favorite store memories?
Man, it's hard to say just one. I mean, there were times we'd be just rolling in there, a lot of the sales and stuff are really fun. Catching up with people, meeting people. I mean, we had so many memories. Of course, we had the weekly visit from Tim. He come off of work, hadn't used the bathroom in a while, go past us. We would see him for 10, 15 minutes. That's a memory that will never leave.
Never leave that building either.
Yeah, I mean, that building is. I mean, it's done. No, I'm just kidding. But just all kinds. I mean, we had a lot of great customers. That who built us the model. He was a great kid. He came in regularly. Remember, who built us a model of the store?
Yeah. He made it out of Legos, and it was exact. It even had the couch, and it had my ball head.
Yeah.
And
Lego was shining. That Lego had a big shine on top. It was wild.
Yeah.
But we just had some, with McKenna working there, we had a lot of good memories. Just people coming in and
just shooting the breeze.
That was the biggest thing. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me. It was, just talking with the people, the memories. We'd have crazy stories. People would bring us stuff that reeked of smoke and it would smell.
Yep. Remember we had those that one person, he brought in a bunch of Mego dolls, and they just were smoky. We were like, we gotta air these out for a couple of weeks before we can even start.
We definitely early on, I think, whenever we bought something, we definitely had to get licenses, like driver's license, a copy.
Yeah.
Man, you just didn't.
I remember when you first started letting me close. and I'd get nervous. You know, whenever someone would come in to try to sell us something, I'd always call you and FaceTime you because I was still very new to it. And there's
Yeah.
one time a guy came in, you know, just had two books from the 90s peppered with holes. It smelled really bad. And I was able to confidently say to him, like, no, I think we're good. Like, I didn't call you for that one. I was like, we're good. You know, I felt confident enough
Yeah.
to pass on that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you get that. And yeah, nah, it was good. And then we had people give us comics.
Yeah.
Tim got some comics. I mean, you had to watch it with Tim, man. I mean, he would New Jersey strong arm someone coming in there trying to sell some books. Man.
You know, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be like, I'm trying to hold back.
I remember that one time we got that phone call. This guy, he says he's got a Fantastic Four #1 and he's going to be there in a half an hour.
Oh,
it was about closing time. And I'm like, oh man, all right, I'll hang out for this because this is going to be good. And that boy, he showed up with an hour reprint. What was not even the golden record reprint? He showed up with
this was the one with the gray border, I think. What were some of your guys' favorite memories? Like, what do you?
You know what? You know, talking about like how I would come into the shop all the time. You know, at first when I was just, you know, as a customer, I remember one time that Nik was like, "Hey man, are you gonna be here for a while?" And I was, you know, this was before Nik hired me. And I was like, yeah, I'll definitely I'll hang out. Why? What's up? And Nik was like, oh, I got to run home for a little bit. Can you just stay here? You know,
what did I have to do, man?
You had to do something with your son.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah.
I didn't care if you. I let this. So yeah, that was a crazy time. I mean, I let this New Jersey guy just come in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
no background check.
And you left me. You left me there, and I think you had like a, what is it, like the register at the time was easier to use or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
what did you take from that? Were you like surprised by it? Huh?
Yeah. I was just like, wow. I was like, this guy actually trusts me.
You're like, what a fool.
You're like texting your wife, honey, this guy trusts me. Trust me.
You're like, get the car.
I mean,
that's just you guys not, that's one of my things is I mean, I'm very low anxiety about stuff like that. I kind of, it's I'm not a this is business kind of guy. I'm like, that's another thing is the relationships are more important than the I don't look at a person and see how much money I can get out of them, which is the typical, which is a business, which I don't, in some way you're doing business. I get it. But that's a lot of people's philosophy is how, it's just kind of the world we live in. Like how is this person going to benefit my life, or how can I protect myself from this person, or how much money can I get from this person, or how much will this person make me look good? So I try not to operate like that. So, I mean, it's kind of diffusing when I say, here, take the shop. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, being from New Jersey, you probably wanted to just rob everything.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't tell you.
Jersey friends are gonna watch this and be like, I'm done. I'm not talking to Nikki.
I mean, when you were on your way back, I already had a U-Haul halfway.
This is the big one.
Yeah,
this is the big one.
I called
my lucky day.
I called Baby brother. I said, hey man, you better get the U-Haul. We got something here.
Nah, I think so. I think we kind of built a rapport at least by then.
Yeah.
He didn't just walk in.
No.
I
hung out there so many times, just hanging out, like just hanging out, talking to customers, talking to people.
Yeah, man, it's time to go. We're closing in 10 minutes. You mind?
You're like, nah.
Yeah. I would be walking out with them at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which
Wait,
which is fun. I mean, that was cool. Yeah.
I still tell my students, I tell, I love my job now being a teacher, but I'll tell them, on my face, I look very fondly upon I guess it was just a year that I worked there officially, but I mean, I loved
Yeah.
it. I got to spend a year working with comic books. Like, what other comic book nerds can really say that? I mean, not a whole lot of people that love comics and actually say that they got paid to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was great, man. Things, I think everything works out the way it is. I mean, it wasn't feasible with the landlord situation, and then the family stuff that we had with the landlord.
Yeah.
We sold our house, and the landlord was over the apartment we were staying in, and we were having it. So it was a big, almost like a battle. So it was not the most conducive, but yeah, it was awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it and you learned a lot. I mean, a lot of comic shops don't deal with so my love and focus is higher end, like vintage collectible stuff. So you can, so a lot of comic shops are more reader focused. And so you hopefully learn some stuff that will help you in that regard, because comics are a commodity now. The comic market is pretty well established. It's going to be pretty hard to knock it down. So you have all kinds of resources. I mean, I talk and deal and meet with people all the time that, it's like they need something. Comics are a commodity for them, so they can liquidate them, do what they need to do. You can't do that with, you can't do that with a lot of other hobbies and things.
Like I said at the start, I mean, you're kind of like the godfather of chasing collectibles, because without Nikelspot, we, this whole us three coming together doing what we're doing now wouldn't be possible. So, not that you get a cut, but I mean,
yeah. So yeah, I did trademark.
We are a multi-billion-dollar company.
Trademark it. That's the announcement I wanted to make. So I really am the godfather.
Yeah. Well, we bring in billions in revenue. But
speaking to the collectability and the market side of things, you started dabbling in the video game world, getting those graded, and the VHS world, which I thought was rather fascinating. What can you tell us about that, man? What's that all about?
So the whole shift to Noble Nostalgia is really one of just the progression of me. So Nikelspot is my overarching LLC. So that whatever I'm doing business as, Nikelspot's always like the umbrella. But like Nikelspot was a little, as I was growing older, I just wanted to get out to something more mature, and I was broadening out, mature sounding, but I was broadening out my interest. And nostalgia is a big driving factor for all of our like interest and hobby. And then the video game, I never saw them really selling so much, but even when I first heard about it, I had some friends that initially invested in WADA, the biggest video grading company that basically, there was VGA, but WADA basically launched the market and stuff. And even then, I really wasn't picking it up. And then I just kind of started growing fond of them, because video games are the most nostalgic thing for me. And because I mean, they were just, since I was like 5, and I remember the smell of opening them and all that stuff, like the memory. So I just kind of grew to love video games. And I got into it late, but not too late. I got into it just before Heritage started auctioning. And so I was buying all kinds of stuff, and I lose money every year, a good amount of money every year trying stuff like this. I just consider it like education costs. So I bought some stuff that was probably not the best buy at the time, but I also bought stuff that was good. And I wasn't I had a lot of good stuff and sold it because the prices were getting so crazy. All that to say, the video game market is crazy, and it's settled back down now. And so video games, I got into that a few years ago, loved that. And been into that. I still do that, you know, just not as much. I've been really into comics lately, kind of you know, we ebb and flow like our interests. And but I'll if it's there, I like it still. But VHS in the last year is something that I've kind of, it's been a talked about market. Yeah, people starting to grade them. And again, I mean, I've got a ton of stuff that I probably shouldn't have bought, but I've also bought a lot of stuff. And the VHS market is still young, probably is still young. It's still not too late to get in. I mean, I bought a really expensive tape this past week investing in it. So it's not too late. It's definitely a market you should try to get in. I mean, there's a lot of energy behind it, like the video games. And now you have CGC is looking into CGC, WADA, I think, are starting to grade VHS. So there's so much energy behind the market. And then today is Wednesday, June 8th. You know, I don't know when people will watch this, but tomorrow, we just had 2 days ago a pretty golden auction is pretty good. They're not as, they don't drive the market quite as much as Heritage. They do on sports cars and stuff, but like the VHS and video games, they don't. But they just had an auction 2 days ago that went pretty crazy. A Karate Kid first print went for like 20 grand.
Wow.
A beta Max, which isn't usually considered, it's not considered quite as collectible as VHS. The Raiders of the Lost Ark beta Max sold for 20,000. But tomorrow, June 9th is Heritage Auction's first VHS auction. And there's potential. I mean, there's already the Star Wars, I think it's an early or first 1984. It's at like 27,000. It's still got a day to go. Wow. Back to the Future's at 20 grand. First Blood is at like 15. So the market's still young. It's still good. You just gotta get into it. I mean, that's what I do. That's kind of the main thing. Noble Nostalgia is really just, I broker things. I invest in things. You know, that's so I look for markets and stuff like that. And the comic market is the same way. So, you know, I have my office to go tying in to what I, you know, coming out of the store to what I presently do is Noble Nostalgia. I have an office here in Greenville. But the office is really just for when people nearby want to pick up a book or they don't want it shipped or it's an expensive book, and for buying and assessing and collectibles and stuff. I mainly work from home. I mainly like broker stuff. I'm mainly like looking for stuff and like all that. So I'm just always looking at the markets, where to buy, you know, just watching stuff. And everything right now is good. Comics are good, but they've cooled since last year, which is actually kind of a good thing. So everything is good. VHS, I mean, if you guys just always try to buy what you know, like if you love the Back to the Future series, try to save up some money and get the nicest ones, earliest copies you can get. Just start there with major movies. I definitely would recommend it because, I mean, I think if we have a big thing like 2008 where the economy is a big setback, which is likely probably going to happen to some degree. I don't really see how we're going to avoid it. The collectibles actually can, I mean, it may be a little different this time, but collectibles can jump like they did in 2008. The comic market jumped in 2008 because everything else was just crazy, and you know, so everything's good right now, pretty good. It's not like it was last year, like crazy. Like the stuff is not selling for it. And I was on the phone with somebody last week who sells a lot of books, like regularly, like bigger, middle end, higher end books, and he said it softened, but it's just not as crazy as it was. But that's kind of the ebb and flow. So VHS is good. I mean, it's if people get excited behind it, it's going to drive the market. And you always have manipulators, but I don't think it's always malicious manipulators. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just people who love it. They want to see it go. So they're going to buy stuff, and that's going to drive the market. Then you have other people who say, yeah, I like that too. So they're going to be spending money on the market. But whenever there's money being made, you're always going to have people who there's going to be shady people who manipulate stuff. That's just the nature of some of the people that, you know, they do that. But you're going to just have a genuine interest in it. And the stuff is rare. The VHS is rare, like video games. And comics aren't necessarily rare, like Silver Age keys, Bronze Age keys, but the demand is so much greater for comics than these others.
Right.
So everything's good right now. It might be a good, you just, you know, there's no way to tell the future. So, you know, I could get stuck holding the bag because I've got a ton of comics right now, you know, that I just buy. I don't really sell when I can, or, you know, what I want to, and the market falls out, you know.
So
I think they just built a Chick-fil-A down the road. I'll just go work there.
Yeah, that sounds good. And we'll come with you.
Well, yeah, you can definitely use Tyler as a reference.
Yeah, that's right, man. But no, I think you're good. I mean, that's the thing. I just, you know, it's a good market. I mean, it's good. Just be wise in it. Buy stuff that you know is good. I mean, only buy risky, like only buy new books that you're specking on if you have the money to throw away. That's like with anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Only buy niche weird stuff. If you're not buying it just to enjoy, which is totally fine. If you're buying it because you think it's going to make you money, you just got to be prepared to lose money. And if you're buying expensive books, you know, it's not guaranteed they'll stay that price. And, you know, it's kind of a mixed market. It's a great time to sell, and could be a good time to buy. It could not be, but, you know, if you sell now, you lock in your gains.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I'm sorry, but all right.
Yeah.
So with all that, you know, in mind, and also, you know, with just kind of moving right along, just wondering, what exactly are you up to now? Because I hear you're into something new, and
yeah.
You can tell the viewers about it.
So yeah, going back, I have a ton of comics and I buy them. You know, I bought like 101 boxes in the last couple of weeks. And so, you know, I have my business, Noble Nostalgia, and like I said, I have an office here. I mostly work from home. I go to the office by appointment only. Noble Nostalgia is really primarily by face to interact with people, to buy stuff, so people can contact me about buying collections. I do, you know, to give them an option for an offer besides just taking them to a shop or you know, taking the time to do it. I try to pay what they're gonna save in time for their collection, and key stuff I just buy. I mean, you know, I buy just for me. So sometimes it's best for you know, whatever ease. And some people don't like to send books to CGC. Some people don't want to send books in the mail, and we're at risk losing them. So a lot of people will sell. They'll figure we'll agree on the grade and sell it what they think of a grade at or something like that. So that's kind of the business. As far as mainly what I focus on is just networking, watching the market, buying collections, and then I sell on eBay primarily for what I do, and then I work with a network of dealers and collectors to get them stuff. But I have, like I said, I have stuff that nobody wants unless, you know, they're going to pay you nothing for it. But I have a lot of great stuff that is good books that, I mean, it just takes time to sell. So one of the things that I did recently is I got onboarded on Whatnot. And y'all know what that is, Whatnot? It's like a video
Yeah.
auction site. And so yeah, I don't know when you're going to air this, but it's Wednesday, June 8th. My first live Whatnot show is tomorrow, Thursday, June 9th at noon Eastern time. So 12 p.m. Eastern. Just give it a go. Hopefully that will be a way that I could hop on, sell some comment. I mean, I could stay on Whatnot 24/7 and do like a, one of those up all night marathons and just have people dancing and doing talent shows and sell books all day, probably for a year.
You got our numbers. You got our numbers.
Yeah. Oh man, Lauren, man, get legs.
I was gonna say, Lauren's a pretty good dancer.
So, but I just got to see that. But also, Heroes Con coming up June 24th through 26th. This is the first show I'm setting up at. Charlotte's my hometown, and try to do that every year that I can. So that'll be the first show. I'll have a lot of good stuff. I'm bringing stuff that I haven't put out for sale, some higher end stuff, some boxes and stuff. I mean, I'll have tons of boxes of like good stuff that's like, I just got to do something with. So yeah, so Whatnot's the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to this summer, like, trying to get into, and hopefully, working from home. So my focus is always my family. So that's the thing. So I got my daughters and my son now, so that's what I want to be here to raise them, and so that whatever we choose in life, you sacrifice stuff. So if I'm choosing that, I'm not around as people as much, like interacting. We've only spoken a few times this year. I meet people, random people, but the regular people in the industry, I don't really connect with constantly or regularly to have that constant relationship. So hopefully like these live streams, like I'm going to set it up where I'm facing, and I'm not just going to not show my face, when I do them. So it's going to be hopefully like interactive. Hopefully people will jump on there and,
And how will somebody find you? What's the exact name that they can look you up
Yeah.
on and whatnot?
So let's see. Noble Nostalgia is the name, but there's an underscore. So it's my Instagram handle too. So it's, you see, Noble Nostalgia, but there's an underscore in between. So Noble, if you go on Whatnot's pretty good about searching. Yep, that's it. That's it. Noble Nostalgia. Noble underscore Nostalgia. And I've got 7 followers. So if that doesn't tell you anything, if that doesn't tell you that people are hyped, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, get on the hype train.
I'm finding that it's gonna be one of those things that I mean, you got 7 people with the wind, putting the wind in my cells, So join them.
It's about to be
it's probably gonna be one of yeah, man, get it. But it's just it might take slow, but literally, man, I can run through books while I build up my my feedback. It'll probably be I don't really know what to expect. So tomorrow I'll do my first one. I got some really cool books up. Yep. Cool. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I wanted to be 8.
So go get yourself followed up on him, because if this doesn't air on the night of his show, just keep checking back, sign up, subscribe, so you guys will be able to find out when he's going to be live. And I'll tell you what, from experience, man, he's going to have some good stuff, and he's always going to have good deals. So you guys got to be sure to sign up.
And giveaways, man, like giveaways. Like I got different ideas to give away stuff too. So
I'll be down soon. I'll just pick up all those giveaways. You don't even have to bother with that.
You can distribute them for me right into those long boxes in your closet.
Yeah.
Nah, but it'll be. But I'm hoping it'll put a little. I'm just trying to change things up, Like hopefully it'll bring a little social element to what I do, as far as like the day-to-day comic stuff or business. So it'll be cool. Hopefully interacting. I'm sure it'll be. Hopefully it'll be fun. I know a lot of people on there have dealt with them or interacted with them before. And so, you know, hopefully we'll get on there and have fun. And I mean, hopefully it'll be good. I mean, I'm not expecting to, but for me, it's building up the network so that I can just get on and get some of these comics out. Like it's no joke. I have like, I mean, thousands of good comics, like good, like not like stuff that if you know, I could put on eBay and probably sell within a day. Y'all know, you know, just the stuff that I put on eBay is stuff that I usually, it's either like, it's desirable, you know. I just try not to deal with stuff that's gonna sit there. So I've got books that I think people will like, and hopefully I mean, it'll be fun regardless, you know.
Yeah.
So but I think it'll build up. It might take some time, which is fine.
Yeah.
So but that's the biggest thing. Whatnot in Heroes Con coming up. And then I'm in the process of purchasing a building, like a commercial building, that I'll eventually do something in. I don't know if I would do like a full-blown shop, but I have some ideas and stuff, but I'm in the process of that. It's just, again, with everything that's going on, I don't know if it's a good time to buy or not. I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it is. I don't think it's ever a bad time, particularly in the promised land here in South Carolina. You know, it's always green here. So,
well, whenever you know officially, you can come on here and we can be the first to share the news.
Yeah, I would do that for sure, man. I would do it, and I need to get on. I don't get on Facebook as much anymore, only because the messaging and stuff across all the platforms. But I mean, I have to start getting on there more. Are you guys on Instagram too? Because I can shout you out.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Okay. I'll get on. I'll post stuff on Facebook periodically. It's just I need to do that more because there's still a lot of comic. I'll go on Facebook once a week or once every couple of weeks, and there's a ton of comic people. So I probably need to get back on it.
Yeah. Well, Nik, we really want to thank you for coming on the show. This has been something that ever since we started doing this, we're like, we gotta get Nik on here at some point, and it's been fun.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry it's been so long.
It's all good,
and,
you know.
Appreciate Randy, man. And so there was a lot of stuff. I mean, if you ever want to do like just do a special show, like if you want to focus on one topic, because my mind goes in a million different directions and stuff. So if you wanted to narrow it down and talk about, like, if you wanted to do a grading show one time, if you wanted to do you know, anything,
we've talked about doing it in the past.
Yeah.
So we'd love to have you back on and talking about something.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I'll definitely give you guys a shout out on Facebook and Instagram and wherever I can. Whatnot, you know. Do you guys have it's kind of hard to get a seller's account, but you can get a buyer's account pretty easy. I'll give you a shout out wherever I can.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go to the grocery store tomorrow and, you know,
please do.
Tell them,
tell everyone in the food line.
Any cashier I see tomorrow, person that's eye contact, I'll make sure to
go to Bojangles.
Hey, you heard it, yeah. I don't know. You need to check out Chasing Collectibles on Facebook. I don't know.
And they're like, man, they're like, sir, this is a Wendy's.
Oh man, but no, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you. And hopefully, yeah, at least you know, us getting up, and you guys have to come down sometime soon, and
yes, sir,
and see me, and yeah, really appreciate y'all having me on. And up.
Well,
we appreciate you coming on and seeing you, man.
And I'll see you guys at Heroes Con for sure, right? You guys will be there, right? Okay,
we'll see you there.
All right.
See you later. Bye.
Take care.
Yay, comics!